Convection. Convection is one of the modes of heat transfer. What is convection? If there is a heat transfer between a solid surface and an adjacent fluid, that heat transfer is associated with the movement of the fluid, then it is known as convective heat transfer. Convective heat transfer occurs between solid surface and flowing fluid when they are at different temperatures. It can be either from solid surface to fluid or fluid to solid surface, which depends on the temperature of the fluid and solid surface. One of the example for convection is cooling of electronic devices using fan, like electronic components of computer and other electronic devices. In this, fans are used to circulate the air into electronic devices, and that circulation of air cools the electronic components of those devices using this convection heat transfer mechanism. In this cooling mechanism, heat loss occurs from the electronic components of those devices to flowing air due to the temperature difference between them, which leads to decrease in the temperature of electronic components. Another example is boiling water. In this, transfer of heat occurs from a hot surface of the bowl to circulating fluid. There are two types of convections. One is natural convection, another one is forced convection. First, natural convection. This is also called as free convection. What is natural convection? If there is a heat transfer between surface and flowing fluid, the flow of fluid is induced by buoyancy forces which arise from density differences. Those density differences are caused by temperature variations within the fluid. Then it is called natural convection. That means when there is a heat transfer between surface and fluid, temperature gradients are generated within the fluid, which causes the density differences in the fluid. These density differences lead to buoyancy forces. If those buoyancy forces induces the movement of the fluid, then it is known as natural convection. For example, if you take hot vertical flat plate contacting with cold air, heat transfer occurs from hot surface to cold air. Air adjacent to the hot surface gets heated and temperature increases, density decreases. These density differences within the air lead to buoyancy forces. Because of these buoyancy forces, low density air or hot air moves upward direction, and that place is occupied by unheated air or cold air. Again, that air gets heated, density decreases and moves upward direction. Again, that place is occupied by unheated air that also gets heated and moves upward direction. This type of circulations during the heat transfer from hot surface to air is known as natural convection. Here there is no external force is used for the circulation of air. The movement of air just because of density differences within the air. Another example for natural convection is boiling water. In this, transfer of heat occurs from hot surface to moving fluid. In this, first water gets heated, which is adjacent to the bottom surface of the bowl due to the heat transfer from the bottom surface of the bowl to the liquid. Temperature of the water, which is adjacent to the bottom surface, increases, density decreases. This decrease in the density lead to buoyancy forces. These buoyancy forces cause to move the low density or high temperature fluid upward direction, and high density or unheated cold fluid moves downward direction, which replaces the hot fluid. Again that fluid gets heated, density decreases and moves upward direction. Again that place is also occupied by cold fluid, and this type of circulation occurs in natural convection. Second one is forced convection. What is forced convection? If there is a heat transfer between surface and flowing fluid, the flow of fluid is caused by external means such as fan or pump, then it is called forced convection. That means the movement of the fluid is due to the external force like fan or pump. That is not due to the density differences in the fluid. For example, if air is flowing through a hot horizontal flat plate by using a blower, heat transfer occurs from the surface to flowing air, and the movement of the air occurs due to the external force, that is the blower. Here heat is carried by the flowing air, and movement of the fluid occurs due to the external force, that is not due to the density differences in the air. Another example for forced convection is radiator in a car, which is a good example for forced convection. Radiator is an heat exchanger which is an essential part of the cooling system of an engine. First, heat is absorbed from the engine components by the coolant, which is transferred by the pump, and that heated coolant is transferred to the radiator. The radiator is arranged with a series of tubes to cool the fluid. Where the fluid flow through the tubes of radiator, and heat of fluid is dissipated to surroundings of the tube surfaces. That heat is absorbed by flowing air. That airflow is produced by external force, that is fan. The tubes are arranged with fins to increase the contact surface with ambient air and increase the heat exchange efficiency. This is all about convection mechanism. Thank you.